Welcome to MidLIFE Matters, where we celebrate women's wisdom and wit. I'm Georgian Lussier, your host, and I'm delighted to introduce today's guest, Jane Milas. Jane was an attorney who specialized in the construction industry, and she retired recently due to a stroke and has now volunteered to help others with similar challenges. So welcome, Jane.
Thank you very much.
I'm delighted that you're here. Early in your career, you were a pioneer woman. We're talking like the 80s, right? When you first started like in construction.
Definitely.
Then you became a managing partner, and then you retired of a firm, and then you retired after 37 years. What I'd like to do first, before we get into your career, is talk about your sense of how your career skills and your personal skills have helped you become a survivor from this stroke.
Well, I think initially after the stroke, I was scared. You know, what will happen? But I needed to do something. You know, I didn't know what, but I thought I have to do something. And so I prayed, and I believed the speech and the communication therapy was something that I needed to be able to speak again. That was very hard initially. That's what I wanted to start. Okay. And I also needed occupation therapy and PT therapy. You know, I knew I was having different things. But for me, the speech and the communication therapy was really the most important thing that I thought, you know, I need to have that.
Okay. So that's what you focused on.
Exactly.
And when we spoke earlier, you shared with me that, again, focus on what's most important. These were some of the little mantras that, you shared with me. Do your research and your due diligence. So I would say, like what's available, who can help, and maybe getting some sense of what the journey is going to look like. Being persistent, and we'll talk about you being very persistent in terms of regaining your driver's license.
Yes.
Yep.
Yes.
And that now you've learned to be comfortable just asking for clarification, like if someone's in a zone that you're not really picking up, or you just say, can you repeat that for me, right?
Exactly.
So you've developed your own mechanisms that you're comfortable with to just be the new you.
I think so. It's really hard when you think about it. When I started that day when I had a stroke, at that minute, I was the lawyer, and I was, coming back at the end of that day from New Haven. It was around 7 p.m., and so, it was the usual thing. I was thinking about, what else I need to do for tomorrow, the usual. And I was going to my stairs, to my door, and I was fine, and then that suddenly I started the work headache in my life, and it made me fall, and I was crawling into the door. That's when I was thinking, I think I'm starting a stroke. I didn't know anything about it really, but that's what I thought. I called 911 immediately. I said I need an ambulance immediately, and that's what I had to start, with that. And of course, I was worrying about my mother, who was she was there at the door, and I take care of her all the time. So I was, very worried about her. I said, "Oh, Mom, I have to go to the ambulance now, but don't worry about it. It'll be fine." And, just call my brother and let him know. That was the kind of thing that I had to start.
And about how long ago was that?
That was November 30th, 2021.
Okay, so we're coming up on 3 years.
Yes.
Okay,
yeah.
So that is quite a journey. The fact that you had the wherewithal, not knowing much about strokes, or having any experience with anyone with one, whatever, to call 911 and realize this is an immediate, situation, right? That I think there's like a golden hour, right? If they can get you some treatment right away, it can really increase the chances of recovering a lot of capacity.
Exactly, exactly. I mean, honestly, God helps me because I would have had no idea. I just thought, I've got to do something. And so, that's where I had to go to Mid-State Hospital, and they went and they said right away, we're going to continue to Hartford Hospital. As it turns out, I had a hemorrhagic stroke, ruptured aneurysm, and again, fortunately, and I didn't know until later that I knew about that, you have to do something immediately because you will die unless it can do something soon, very soon.
Okay.
And fortunately, they could. And even that,
Yeah.
some can okay, some not.
Right.
So you never know. You
Right,
never know.
right.
But fortunately, I had great people from the ambulance and then to state and then to Hartford Hospital. They were wonderful people.
So grateful for them at a
Definitely.
time like that, right?
Definitely.
Your life is in their hands.
Definitely. And you just
Yeah.
think, I'm just going to do the best I can, you
Yeah.
know. It's funny because to me, I was still thinking, I am an attorney, so I have to make the point, this is what I need to do. And so that was me, saying this stuff. And it was probably later I thought, I can't believe that I was actually thinking about, the things that I were, saying. I need
Right.
this, I have this right away. But that's what I had to do.
Well, you were at one point in your normal life, and then everything changed.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Exactly.
Yeah, so that's a lot to comprehend. As you just said, do the best you can, right, with whatever the situation is. Kind of take a let's see, try different things, and don't prejudge necessarily or insist on understanding maybe what the outcome is likely to be, but kind of let it unfold a little bit. I'm sure that wasn't an easy process, but don't retreat at the same time.
That's true.
Right? That's what you were kind of conveying to me. Another kind of refreshing thing you said to me, very poignant, was, everybody has something they're dealing with.
That's right. That
Right.
is true.
Right. So
Exactly.
maybe not to that severity, but we never know what.
There are
people
so
are dealing
many
with.
people who have different things that they have to do. When you think about those things, it's yourself, but there are other people too. So I thought, this is the most important thing that I need to do, is to just do the best I can. No one really knows exactly what any person who had a stroke will end up.
Right.
No one really knows that. And they have told me as well as other people. Yes, we know certain things, this is what will happen. Years ago, people thought, oh, they had a stroke, it's good, it's not so good, whatever. And that's the end. Now, it's much, much different now. The doctors, the therapy, and everything, they understand that it's part of, what the stroke is, but it's also what each person is doing and trying to do the best that you can to do whatever you need to do to, come back after
Yes.
a stroke.
And I had someone on the show that had nursing background and said, it's so important to remember that you are not your disease, right? Your own identity, and
That's true.
you're still Jane,
That's true.
and you were still trying to be your attorney self right after, right? So one particular example of persistency was around your driver's license. So tell us how that process worked.
Oh, boy. That was initially, I was not able to come back with my car. About 8 months after the stroke, the Easter Seal were going to check to see, can I have the car,
Right.
Again, or what? For one day, I had 2 hours, and I had to, they had different papers, and, you had to, it will 1 to 20, and you have to decide, 1 is there, 2 is over here at the left, and so do that kind of thing. And I did okay with that, and there were a few other type of things like that, and I was fine. After those 2 hours, all right, that's fine. So next week we're going to come for another 2 hours, and we're going to do more important things. Okay, so you did fine for this. Now we're going to do some other things. The first thing I had to do was there at the computer, and I was supposed to they said, we're going to see white lights. You're going to see many, many of those, and you're going to have to look. You're right there at the computer, and you're supposed to look and tell us, are you going left, right, up, down, in the middle, and keep changing, and tell me, exactly what that is. So I thought, okay, I don't know, but let me see.
Yeah.
So I started, I couldn't see the white light at all.
Okay.
I couldn't believe that. I kept looking, couldn't see anything. And they said, I'm sorry, you're not able to do the car. That was the end of it. That was like, thank you very much, we'll write this up, probably tomorrow, but we're sorry,
Yeah.
Goodbye. And that was it. And my brother was there. He was making a little joke to me about something or other, because really he didn't know what to think. I know
Right.
that.
Yeah.
So he made some kind of stupid joke, and I just said, just stop. I am not talking anymore. And that was me, it was like, "Urgh." And at the end of the day, I just, sat there, when I was back to my house, and I thought, I'm just going to sit here and cry, because I don't know what to think. I really don't. And then I thought, okay, I'm just done. I'm not going to worry about this for a minute. But after a couple of months, I did call Easter Seal, because I was thinking, I've got to do something. I was trying to say, can't I do occupation therapy? Aren't you supposed to do something like that? I don't know exactly what that's like, but can I do something like that? So that's what I was asking. It was very hard for me to say it, but they got it finally. They said, okay, yeah, I guess you can. So that's when I started.
Okay. So you went through a course of occupational therapy,
Yes.
and ultimately you were able to see the lights, pass the test, and you drive.
That's right. That's right.
A wonderful,
That's right.
wonderful example of persistency. And again, maybe it wouldn't have turned out that way, but you took that approach of, let's see, let's try, let's do the best you can. And I believe Easter Seals gave you some acknowledgement for that. You were at some conference or something. We have a photo of that.
They were very excited, and I was able to, do the car, and I did that, and they came back and they said, you're 100%, and we're so excited, and and I said, oh, thank you,
Right.
That was great. They put all the information and said, you can go to the car again, no problem. And after a few months, they called, because they said, we want to have a book, and it will be a computer as well, about you are, this wonderful person who was able to do the car. And they said most people actually cannot do that ever. The fact that you were able to do this, was, wonderful. And so they wrote this paper, and, it's at the computer and all of this. And I said, okay, well, thank you. That's very nice. All right. And then a few more months, every year, Easter Seal annual meeting, and they always decide one or two people who come and talk. So I didn't know anything about that until they were asking, and they said, we want to have you be the annual meeting person.
Yeah.
And I was trying to say nice, and say, oh, well, thank you so much. But and they said, no. We're going to do this no matter what. And you need to come. We are so excited about this. So they were very good. And I was there, and I had to talk about what happened, what I learned to able again to the car. The therapy said, basically, we thought, she'll work really hard, but she won't be able to do it. And then you did.
Wonderful.
They said, and we know when we started doing it, you would ask me every week, I need something else, get me more stuff, and I will do this as well. So they were wonderful.
Perfect. Yeah. Well, they acknowledge certainly all that you portrayed in terms of being a very determined, not a patient necessarily, but, a client that could, make your own way and overcome the odds, basically.
All you can do is the best you can, and so that's it. That's it.
Okay, that's terrific. And so, thinking about your legal career, what did you enjoy most about representing contractors who are in a bit of trouble with the law or whatever, in some type of a legal challenge?
When I started as a lawyer, I really didn't have any idea about construction. I learned quickly, and I enjoyed it. I read, researched, I went to buildings, roads, bridges, to look at them and just see what's going on. I read codes, which that was the worst thing.
Well,
I had to do that all the time,
right.
and that was very hard.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you probably know my husband's a building official, so all about the codes.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
Things
And
get
I
added
knew you had to understand what that was. You couldn't pretend that this is probably what it's like. It's like, no. You actually have to read this and understand it. So it was very hard, but I enjoyed it. It was rewarding, definitely.
What did you find changed the most in your 37 years? In the legal profession and going to court?
As a younger person, I spent waiting in a courtroom all the time. And years ago, it took like the whole day. And then, finally the judge will sit there for, 5 minutes, and then they'll decide, we'll come back tomorrow and we're going to do something else. So, those are the kinds of things that you had to do initially. Then later, of course, judges changed them. I did Zoom often. Judges gave papers, so, and they would look at it. So you didn't have to sit in the courtroom and just keep talking.
Okay.
No, now you could have papers that were important, and you could give that to the judge, and then, do that. So it's much different now.
So you started your education at Bryn Mawr. Am I pronouncing that right?
Yes, yes, Bryn Mawr.
Then on to Northwestern for your master's, and then you got your law degree through UConn.
Correct.
And your first job was as a bail commissioner, and you were saying to me that you just observed what the lawyers were doing and thought, well, now that's something I might like to learn more about, maybe do that.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. When I came back from Northwestern to Connecticut, as a Northwestern university, I had 2 masters, and one of those is the counseling. So that's how I went to the bail commissioner, and most of the time I was at New Haven. The counseling, it was a little different because most of the time I had to talk with the judges about a lot of the men really had many problems. People had done things that were very, very bad. And
I would think as a young person coming out, okay, you have some counseling credentials. Now you're dealing with people who have maybe a history that they're coming to you with.
yeah, exactly.
And now you're trying to be the go-between or coordinate or whatever.
Exactly.
Yeah, in that judicial system. I could see where that wouldn't necessarily be what you had planned.
No, it was a little different.
Yeah.
It was definitely different. But as I was talking with the judges, every day, I just, thought, gee, I kind of, wonder, can I learn as a lawyer? Can I do this? And as I was thinking about it, I thought, I think I would like to try.
Well, and that was a good instinct because 37 years later.
Exactly,
quite
exactly.
a career. So you also have been very involved as a board member at the Women and Families Center for 20 years, and at one point Volunteer of the Year. And what do you find rewarding about volunteering with the community?
Women and Families Center was really a great place. It took many years, and sometimes, there were things had to change. And so the thing that was really great was there were many people, young ones, older people who needed to help.
Yeah.
Whatever it was. And Women and Family Center was very good about do those kind of things. I wanted to, help with the reading, those kind of things.
Tutoring
so a lot of
and-
different type of things.
Nice.
There were also things that we know that Women and Family Center, they had people who were helping suicide.
Okay.
And there were people who were calling. So there's a lot of different type of things. Some are very, very hard. Some are, when you have those little girls and boys, who are going to the school and doing reading, those were great.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of different things, but I enjoyed doing things at Women and Family Center very much.
Great. You're going to be volunteering with Gaylord?
Yes, yes, yes. The end of October. Gaylord at the hospital. They are going to. They have people as who had a stroke and had to start again. So that's I'm going to be talking.
Right.
You know, so there are a lot of women who had a stroke, and the guys, you know, they're going to say something, good,
Right.
bad, or you know, whatever. They talk. They said, we've seen a lot of women who don't say anything. They just
Okay.
kind of sit there and they're not talking at all.
Oh,
And that's what we'd love to do.
yeah.
I said, you know, and they said, one of the things that you were able to do that is no matter what, you always said something.
Yeah.
Good, bad, not so good.
Right.
You know, it's like you always ask,
Yeah.
what are you doing? What am I supposed to do? How about that? You know, and I joked and they said, no, that's you.
Yeah.
You know, and they said, we always said, oh, she's a lawyer, you know. I said, but you always, you know, you didn't just sit there.
Yeah.
You always asked. We would love to have women who, you know, want to just sit with somebody who really understands as a stroke, like
Yeah.
what happened and what you had to start again.
Yeah.
So I said, oh, all right, okay.
Good.
So, you know, so that's what I'm going to be doing.
Yeah, that's
It's not just, you know, helping one person. It's,
No.
it's for both of us,
Right.
the two of us. We need to talk.
well. Maybe once you've done it for a while, we can have you back and you can talk about that, because that'd be help people that are watching, family members, stroke victims.
Different from each person really is. And I think that one of the problems is that some people just kind of give up. Like Gaylord, which is a great place,
Yeah.
they can do a certain things, but
But-
if that person doesn't do more, that's hard. That's very hard. If people, you know, work hard and then say, okay, we need to do more. What else should we do? Those are the things that really does help people.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it takes a long time. You know,
Yeah.
I do know that. And, you know, when I, you know, initially started, I thought, you know, well, maybe 6 months or maybe 9 months, like stupid me, you
Yeah.
know. And I had to
Readjust.
understand
Yeah.
it myself. I thought, no, this takes years, but
Yeah.
it's all right. You just do what you have to do.
Yeah. And do you have a favorite quote or saying?
Well, there's a lot of those different ones, but I'm thinking of each day a new beginning, and that's really what it is.
That's beautiful. And certainly your story tells that.
No.
Absolutely, very much. So
Thank
thank
you.
you so much for sharing your story with us. And tune in to hear other fascinating stories from guests on Midlife Matters. I'm your host, Georgian Lussier, and thank you for joining us.